It is a culture war debate. Why did Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens not debate the issue of Israel, Palestine, anti-Semitism, etc.? Well, according to Glenn Greenwald, the Daily Wire had a prior restraint gag order against Owens, preventing her from actually having this debate. He argues in his Locals post that when Candace Owens said she wanted to debate Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire went after her saying that was disparaging our company and a violation of our non-disparagement agreement. Now, it appears in the article, a comment from Jeremy Boring, co-CEO of the Daily Wire, denies this, saying it's inaccurate to the point of being false. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it doesn't seem correct, this narrative. And I know that Glenn Greenwald, and there are many, I guess you call them disaffected liberals, that are very much in favor of the protests that we're seeing. Not to accuse Glenn of anything, but I think this comes off as a bias against the Daily Wire. There are a lot of people who don't like the Daily Wire because Ben Shapiro has overtly defended intervention when it pertains to Israel. And there are a lot of MAGA America First types who do not want the U.S. spending any money overseas. But let's do this. The bigger story here, we have this article from earlier last month. Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens split reflects how Israel anti-Semitism divide the U.S. right and what the big picture is. So we'll talk about this news, and then we'll get into where we currently are with this narrative that the anti-Semitism bill has banned the Bible. I'm exaggerating. The argument from people is that it made certain passages anti-Semitic, which could get you fined, or I don't think there's criminal charges for violations of the Civil Rights Act. I think it's civil. Or I think it's a fine. I think it is criminal, but I think it's a fine. Anyway, let's read the story from Glenn Greenwald, and we'll break this down and give my thoughts on it. Glenn Greenwald writes, on April 5th, Candace Owens publicly invited her former Daily Wire colleague Ben Shapiro to a debate about Israel and the current definition of anti-Semitism. It was Owens' criticism of U.S. financing of Israel and her criticisms of Israel's war in Gaza that caused her departure from the Daily Wire 2 weeks earlier. Now, I don't think that's correct. I say it was Owens' criticisms of U.S. financing Israel that caused her departure. I don't think that's wholly correct. Glenn's just asserting that. I think it played a role for sure, but as many people pointed out, she left the Daily Wire March around the same time 3 years later, around the same time that she had signed the contract 3 years earlier. Sorry. So a lot of people pointed out like, oh, it looks like she had a 3-year contract and it just expired. Certainly they didn't get along, for sure. Both Shapiro and the Daily Wire's CEO, Jeremy Boring, responded by saying they would like to arrange the debate requested by Owens that night. Shapiro appeared to accept the offer, writing on X, "Sure, Candace, I texted you on February 29th offering this very thing." The Daily Wire co-founder added, "Let's do it on my show this Monday at 5 p.m. at our studios in Nashville, 90 minutes live streamed." After Owens objected to the format and timing, she and Boring exchanged several tweets in which they appeared to be negotiating and then agreeing to the terms of the format of the debate. Owens had suggested the debate be moderated by Joe Rogan or Lex Fridman. Hey, now hold on there. I believe she also mentioned my name. And I was like, yes, we'll do it. But I do think Rogan would be good. I actually think Lex Fridman would be pretty good. I'm not a big fan of Fridman. I don't mean that to say I don't like him. I'm just saying I'm not, like, I don't listen to his stuff. You know what I mean? It is weird when you say something like, I'm not a big fan. It sounds like you don't like them. No, I just don't listen to Lex Fridman. I think he would be really good for this, actually, as he is a rather calm and neutral party in this. Shapiro said he wanted no moderator. They ultimately agreed to the terms, with Boring offering a series of conditions, including a no moderator debate, with Owens publicly accepting. 2 weeks later, many readers of both Shapiro and Owens noticed and complained the debate had not yet happened. On April 24th, Owens addressed those inquiries by explaining the Daily Wire had yet to propose the dates, while reiterating her strong desire to ensure the debate happened. But the debate was never going to happen. That is because the Daily Wire, in secret and unbeknownst to its readers, sought a gag order to be placed on Owens after she had called for a debate. They did this under the cover of secrecy before a private arbitrator at exactly the same time when they were claiming in public that they wanted this debate and were even negotiating the terms with her. To this date, the Daily Wire has not informed its readers, seeking to understand why the much-anticipated debate had not yet happened, that they had sought and obtained a gag order against Owens. The first thing I'm going to say is, as someone who is involved in and has been involved in arbitration and lawsuits, it's not this simple. And also knowing the Daily Wire crew, Jeremy and Candace, I don't think it's so simple as to say that Jeremy behind the scenes was like, we're never going to have this debate. Mwahaha. There's probably things that are actually prohibiting them. And he actually denies it in this. But let's read more and then we'll break this down. When seeking a gag order to be imposed on Owens, the Daily Wire accused her of violating the non-disparagement clause of her agreement with the company. To substantiate this accusation, the company specifically cited Owens' initial tweet requesting a debate with Shapiro as proof of this disparagement, along with concerns she voiced that Shapiro appeared to be violating the confidentiality agreement between them publicly, maligning Owens' views to explain her departure from the company. Well, the company claimed before the arbitrator that it did not object in principle to a healthy debate. It urged the imposition of a gag order on Owens by claiming that the way she requested the debate constituted disparagement of Shapiro and the site. Now, hold on there a minute. Does that mean no debate will happen? It sounds like the argument so far, based on Glenn's reporting on this, assuming it's all true, is that they said the way she's doing this is disparaging us. We could do a debate, but calm down. Perhaps. To justify the gag order it wanted, the company also cited various criticisms of the Daily Wire and Shapiro on X that Owens had liked. This proceeding took place as part of an exchange of legal threats between the parties after the public agreement to debate about Israel was solidified. Those threats arose from the fact that various Daily Wire executives and hosts, in both public and private, were castigating Owens as an anti-Semite. On March 22nd, Daily Wire host Andrew Klavan published a 1-hour video that hurled multiple accusations, including anti-Semitism, at Owens. The Daily Wire cited Owens' response to that video, her defense of herself from those multiple occasions, as further proof that she needed to be gagged. Now, I will say, I saw this and I think Klavan was absolutely wrong, misinterpreted a post about Candace Owens, believing it to be true. Candace Owens responded. The initial tweet from Owens was not only requested a debate, but also included a video from the popular comedian Andrew Schultz, who had mocked the Daily Wire for firing Owens over disagreements regarding Israel, and specifically mocked Shapiro for his willingness to debate only undergraduate students. The tweet underneath Owens' original debate request included a summary of Schultz's mockery of Shapiro, which stated, Schultz now realizes Ben Shapiro is only good at debating college liberals and can't win debates against serious competition. That sounds like that's what they're arguing, that that's disparaging. I got to be honest, like, if there's any truth to a legal filing from the Daily Wire that they're like, we don't want Candace Owens disparaging us, look, I got to be honest. I'd be more of the mind of like, Candace, say whatever you want. You know what I mean? Say it. We'll say stuff back. I don't think they're served properly by this course of action. But I do believe, and Jeremy Boring in this, he actually denies it. I do believe there's more to the story we probably don't understand. It's not so simple. After the prior restraint hearing sought by the Daily Wire and Shapiro, the arbitrator sided with them against Owens. The arbitrator agreed with the Daily Wire that Owens' call to debate Shapiro in her follow-up negotiations of the debate constituted disparagement of the company and Shapiro. Is it the Schultz post where they insulted him, saying he only debates college liberals? Because that's just not even true. Ben Shapiro, I don't even know when was the last time he had a yelling, I shouldn't say yelling, but calling out college liberals at universities. Ben Shapiro has debated lots of people. The company argued that any further attempt by Owens to debate, as well as her suggesting that the debate would expose the Daily Wire's real priorities, constituted criticisms of the site and of Shapiro. Criticisms that the arbitrator concluded Owens was barred from expressing under her contract with the company. The arbitrator thus imposed a gag order of prior restraint on Owens. Among other things, the order banned Owens from saying or doing anything in the future which could tarnish or harm the reputation of the Daily Wire and or Ben Shapiro. Given that the Daily Wire had argued and the arbitrator agreed that Owens' offers to debate Shapiro about Israel and antisemitism were themselves disparaging, the Daily Wire has ensured that the debate with Owens that they publicly claimed to want could not in fact take place. Any such debate would be in conflict with the gag order they obtained on Owens from expressing any criticisms of the site or of Shapiro. I'm going to pause and just say the reason why I'm skeptical of this, and I think that there may be more to the story, is that the arbitrator agreed with the Daily Wire. It sounds like we're not getting the full picture on this one. When asked for comment to be included in the story, Owens replied, I wish I could comment on this, but I can't, can neither confirm nor deny. Jeremy Boring said, your story is inaccurate to the point of being false. Though he did not specify a single inaccuracy, nor did he deny that the Daily Wire had sought or obtained a gag order on Owens. You see, this is where I'm just like, Glenn, come on, man. You're a lawyer. you get it. Jeremy Boring and Candace Owens neither can come out and disparage the other. That's the point of arbitration. So here's what we could say. How about I write this? When asked for comment to be included in the story, Owens said, "I wish I could comment, but I can't," adding she can neither confirm nor deny, refusing to actually deny allegations that she had been disparaging Ben Shapiro and this organization, and would not even tell us why. Like, you get my point? If you want to say that Boring said it was inaccurate to the point of being false, but he did not specify a single inaccuracy, nor did he deny, neither did Candace. It's because it's arbitration. So you can see the bias in the story. The confirmation we obtained of all these facts is indisputable. Boring added, "I'm sure you can appreciate how fraught a high-profile breakup like this is. For that reason, we are trying to resolve our issues with Candace privately." It certainly seemed true that Daily Wire is attempting to achieve all of this privately. Nonetheless, Ben Shapiro has constructed his very lucrative media brand and persona based on his supposed superiority in debating, a reputation cultivated largely as a result of numerous appearances in undergraduate schools around the country, where he intrepidly engages with students who are often in their teens or early 20s. You see the game they're playing? Come on, guys. Ben Shapiro's debated people. You don't have to like Ben Shapiro. By all means, please criticize the guy. Some people have criticized his stance on intervention. I disagree with him on intervention. He's been in favor of the U.S. supporting and funding the Israeli military. He's concerned that it'll escalate into greater conflict. I'm concerned that funding Israel will lead to greater conflict. He's concerned not funding it. I think he's wrong. He's allowed to be wrong, in my opinion, and I'll disagree with him. I think overwhelmingly, Candace, the Daily Wire, Crowder, Styx and Emmer, Viva Frei, I name these people all the time. We overwhelmingly agree on so much. Stories like this are very silly. I much prefer to be like, hey guys, you should handle this privately. And the debates should happen, and they should happen how they can happen. And the debates are great. And then we should all agree on like the 90+% things we agree on. And so I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comments being like, no, Tim, Ben Shapiro's this or Candace Owens that. I'm a big fan of Candace Owens. She's brilliant. I'm a big fan of Ben Shapiro, also brilliant. They disagree on this issue. I disagree with both of them on many different issues. Here I am, the milquetoast fence sitter on the issue. You get the point. My attitude is not so much to be a milquetoast fence sitter. And to clarify what that is, that's not an insult to me. A lot of people think that it was like people are insulting you when they say it. Some may be intending to. It comes from me trying to de-escalate conflict and be like, we should be agreeing on things we agree on and focusing on what we can accomplish together. And that includes the left and the right. There's a viral video right now. It's awesome, where the right is chanting FJB and then the camera pans over and the left is chanting FJB, F Joe Biden. And I'm just like, just bringing everybody together. Can we agree on the things we agree on and solve the problem? Like, how about all the MAGA people and all of the, anti-Israel people, be it left or right, we just go, hey guys, instead of having a moral debate over the issue of Israel, how about we just agree non-intervention and we cut the foreign funding? And then we're good. Like, you guys can have your moral debate all day and night. Here's something we can accomplish. Of course, the Daily Wire, mostly Ben Shapiro, is more in favor of that intervention. I disagree. I like the Daily Wire. I think they're doing tremendously good work. I think Bent Key children's programming is incredible. And so there's a lot of people who are mad. Like, here's what I want to say. Like, the purpose of all of this is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you're mad at Ben, if you're mad at Daily Wire, if you're mad at Boring, if you don't trust them, if you agree with Glenn and all that stuff, please criticize the Daily Wire. There you go. But please accept the stuff they're doing with Bent Key and making children's programming to combat the woke insanity is a massive net positive that we need, right? So by all means, be like, oh, Ben is completely wrong. I can't believe they're doing this. But thank you guys for the hard work you are doing with making children's content, for the shows that you've created and the impact you've had. Matt Walsh, What is a Woman? Amazing work, historic. Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles are absolutely fantastic. I'll be honest, like, I don't listen to a lot of Ben Shapiro. I do actually listen periodically to Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just on Twitter, and then I watch it. I don't really see that much Ben Shapiro stuff. I don't watch much Candace Owens for that matter as well. He goes on to say, it was the imperatives of this media branding that presumably led the Daily Wire and Shapiro to publicly agree to debate with Owens over Israel and anti-Semitism in the first place. Indeed, when it became apparent early after the start of Israel's war in Gaza that Owens had major differences with Shapiro, Boring responded to calls from Israel supporters for Owens to be fired by proclaiming in November, even if we could, we would not fire Candace because of another thing we have in common. a desire not to regulate the speech of our hosts, even when we disagree with them. Candace is paid to give her opinion, not mine or Ben's. Unless his opinions run afoul of the law or she violates the terms of her contract in some way, her job is secure and she is welcome at the Daily Wire. But a mere 4 months later, Owens, despite being one of the company's most popular hosts, was out. The company had concluded that her increasingly vocal criticisms of Israel, opposition to U.S. financing of it, and her views of anti-Semitism were incompatible with the Daily Wire's policies. I do not believe that is correct. I think that's Glenn's bias as to Israel. Look, man, I think Glenn and many of these other disaffected liberals have long been biased against Israel. I don't care. I care as much about Israel as I do as Myanmar. And that's why I often make that point. It's like, I get it. The U.S. funds it. We also fund Sudan, and we've been funding Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're funding Ukraine. We fund Ukraine more than Israel. My attitude is very simple. Like, I want to fix our roads and secure our border. I care about my neighbors, not some faraway land. But then you get people who are hyper-focused on the core moral issue of Israel, and they view everything through that lens. All of those issues would likely have been the subject of the public debate that Owens sought and that the Daily Wire claimed to want. Instead, the Daily Wire has succeeded in obtaining a gag order that, on its face, prevents Owens in advance from questioning or criticizing both the Daily Wire or Shapiro in some way. It may be that Glenn Greenwald is completely correct and has the evidence, and I'm not here to doubt that. I'm not here to tell you what to believe and what not to believe. That's a better way to put it. Personally, I think there's more to this picture than meets the eye. And having been involved in arbitration as well, I think you can really just see it when he brings up the Jeremy Boring and Owens statement. He says, when asked for a comment to be included in the story, Owens replied, "I wish I could comment on this, but I can't. I can neither confirm nor deny." Where's the criticism of her for refusing to engage? It says, Boring said it's inaccurate to the point of being false, but he didn't specify a single inaccuracy. Yes, because in arbitration, they're telling both parties, don't start the fight. I've been there. They say, yes, we are telling this party they cannot do these things. But that applies to you. If you go out and open the door publicly by saying these things, you allow them to respond. And this is what they apparently are trying to resolve. It could be that the issue is actually simple. The debate may devolve into criticisms of the company instead of the issue. But I don't know. I think that there is a legal issue behind this that is not just one-sided, and it results in something like this happening. Now, where we're currently at, I think this is fascinating, is the Times of Israel writing that you see the divide of anti-Semitism on the U.S. right. This is why I want to talk about the Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro thing. It's a bit drama-y, but I do think it's important to answer this question as it pertains to, I don't like the word the right. It's so silly because Glenn Greenwald is right-wing, right? I mean, he's not, but they call him far right. Ridiculous. So the right doesn't mean anything. But there's a question of what is anti-Semitism, and that's why I think the debate would be good. The question right now that everyone's talking about, Charlie Kirk says this: did the House of Representatives just make parts of the Bible illegal? Jake Shields responding, are you still going to pretend they don't control our government? Donnie Darkin says the awakening is happening, folks. Look at the trajectory of the world. This all must occur to prepare for the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Oh, boy. We got a hat trick here. Okay. Parts of the Bible, not so much illegal, but violations in certain contexts. So if you were to be teaching the Bible in a university, one could argue it violates Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act and that it is anti-Semitic under the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism adopted by Congress and an executive order by Donald Trump in 2019. Trump, of course, is very much on board with the definition of anti-Semitism. The idea that Israel controls the government, I think, is substantially over the top. We've had congressional staffers in here, and they talk about how people grossly overestimate the power of AIPAC, though powerful it is, and it is not registered as a foreign lobby. But I think people greatly overestimate that they're controlling the government. No, the problem is money controls the government, and big corporations. It is the will of the overwhelmingly wealthy. We've seen these in studies. this means you are going to get a lot of influence from Israel. My view, the U.S. mostly has a secular view of Israel. It is a territory aligned with the United States, going all the way back to its creation and everything. And Western powers have a hub in the Middle East, which they very much would like to conquer for a lot of different reasons. Principally, the U.S. military uses Israel for military development, technology, research, resources, military bases, intelligence, and staging operations in the Middle East. It's very important because Iraq and Afghanistan are unstable. The U.S. tried to maintain positions there. They struggled. Syria, they struggled. But the U.S. has operations in Syria, and they have total control of the Israel territory. And then these people who are like deeply obsessed with Israel are like, you think that the U.S. controls Israel? Israel controls the U.S. And I'm like, this tiny nation does not control the United States, dude. The United States is basically NATO, the military-industrial complex. It is a component of the United States. It's like, I don't get this mentality. Anyway, long story short, that's the majority of the U.S. Interest in Israel. And when protesters, I love this, it was a great post. When protesters were complaining about defunding the police and Black Lives Matter, that's nebulous and has no effect on American policy. But when they started criticizing Israel, clearly that's an affront to the military-industrial complex and our goals. And so then, crack down. Of course, many people believe it's because Israel is secretly in control of the United States. And I just think that's silly. Is Ukraine in control of the United States? Zelensky has come here personally, and we've spent more money on Ukraine. No, we don't even say that. It's the weirdest thing ever. We're like, Ukraine is a puppet state of the United States, but not Israel. I think those people have lost it, okay? But here we go. Here's the debate. Tucker Carlson responded to Charlie Kirk saying, yes, the New Testament. Ed Krasenstein says to Tucker Carlson, stop pretending like this is some horrific thing. The Bible isn't illegal under this bill, but plenty of it is illegal under other U.S. laws, rightfully so. Now, Charlie Kirk said parts of the Bible. Okay, and we have this. This is the IAHRA definition of anti-Semitism. It says using symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, e.g., claims of Jews killing Jesus, to characterize Israel or Israelis. All right, we'll come to that in a second. Claims of Jews killing Jesus is used as an example of classic anti-Semitism. The provision as a whole says to characterize Israel or Israelis, but it says symbols associated with classic anti-Semitism. Claims of Jews killing Jesus is considered anti-Semitism as per this definition outside of this provision. That would mean that in the Bible, where it says numerous times that Jews killed Jesus, that would be deemed anti-Semitic. I responded to Ed, and I am not a Christian. I am not saying that it is right or wrong or whatever. Matthew 27:24, when Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. I am innocent of this man's blood. He said, it is your responsibility. All the people answered, his blood is on us and on our children. That's Matthew. That's the Bible. Okay, I'm not saying it's correct. I'm saying that's in the Bible. And if you teach that, that could be deemed anti-Semitic under these rules because claiming Jews killed Jesus is classic anti-Semitism as per that provision. Ed responds, what's your point? Mercy me. Mercy me. It's like the guy doesn't actually read. The law says claiming Jews killed Jesus is anti-Semitic, and there are numerous passages in the Bible saying Jews killed Jesus. Now, Dave Reaboy, who's also been on the show, says that it is incorrect. R. McIntyre says GOP went from LOL triggered by free speech libs to maybe the Bible is illegal in 6 months. He says, you guys keep lying about this, and it's starting to be pretty obvious why. What do you mean pretty obvious? What does that mean? What is it? I don't get it. He says they see the plain language right there. It's the second half of the sentence. Unless I'm mistaken, Jews killed Jesus, so I hate the modern state of Israel isn't in the Bible. But they know that. What they're trying to do is to convince people that hatred of Jews doesn't exist as a bad thing, but it's actually biblical and praiseworthy. I think hating Jews is a bad thing. I think hating Muslims, I think hating Christians, I think hating Buddhists. I think hating ideology is allowed. I think hate is an important part of the human emotional spectrum. I think blindly and blanketly being like, there's a person, I just hate them, is wrong. I think talking to a Christian, Jew, or Muslim and being like, hey, look, man, I got to be with you, but you do realize that in this teachings, they say this, and if you engage in that practice, that's something I despise and hate. It's like, okay, that's like I get that. Now, here's what Dave gets wrong. It is not the argument that saying Jews killed Jesus, so I hate Israel is in the Bible. It's that this says classic anti-Semitism, an example, claims of Jews killing Jesus. See, here's the thing. An example of anti-Semitism in their provision is using symbols associated with anti-Semitism to characterize Israel. But it defines classic anti-Semitism as claims of Jews killing Jesus outside of the criticism of Israel. That would mean that the Quran, the Hadith, and the Bible contain passages which are deemed violations of Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act as per this new law. This is ultimately the debate that I think should be happening between Candace and Ben, but for whatever reason is not. I'm not going to prattle on too much. It's already been 25 minutes in going over a subject that, you know, I do think needs to be broken down and debated, and kind of why I wanted to address the whole issue with Candace and Ben. But ultimately, my takeaway from all of this is, if we agree on 90% of things, let's keep that up and stop derailing into, you know, whatever all of this is. I suppose the issue then becomes, if we believe in free speech, we're going to have criticisms here. And if people are defending the anti-Semitism bill, well, then they're in violation of the First Amendment. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on the channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.